Most firearms that I review, I own. Occasionally, I also get an opportunity to review firearms that I do not own, and in fact, may not plan to own. Such is the case with the Sig Sauer P320 Compact with Romeo1 reflex sight. The Sig Sauer P320 Compact with Romeo1 reflex sight, under review, is a range pistol that has seen quite a few rounds downrange. In evaluating my experience with the Romeo1 reflex sight was more intriguing than actually shooting the Sig Sauer P320 itself. You see, I am not a fan of reflex sights. Not about the reflex sight itself, but it is about my personal restrictions with them. Astigmatism in my left dominant eye has somewhat mitigated my use of dot sights of most types, regardless of how well they are made. With that said, I recognize the value of these sights, as they do remove one part of the sighting equation, aligning front and rear sights to the target by simply substituting that action with a single dot or pattern, depending on the optic. This review is not so much about the Sig Sauer P320 pistol. It is more so about my experience with the Romeo1 reflex sight mounted on it, although I do have some input on the Sig Sauer P320 that you might find useful. I am not going to go into the unintended discharges surrounding the P320. That issue has been well documented by others, as when Glock pistols were first introduced, proper handling and training to do so was more of an issue than with the pistol itself. Sig Sauer, however, has addressed some issues with the P320 line, and I will leave it at that. The P320, chambered in 9x19mm parabellum, was introduced in the North American market on 15 January 2014, according to resources, after which was followed by the 45 ACP compact model at the SHOT Show in January of 2015. On January 19, 2017, it was announced that a customized version of the Sig Sauer P320 had won the United States Army's XM17 Modular Handgun System competition. Full-size model would become to be known as the M17, and the carry-size model known as the M18. I recently did a review of the commercial version of the M18 and found the M18 to be an excellent pistol. I have provided a link to the Sig Sauer M18 review in the description section below this video, if you are interested. The P320 Compact for this review could be considered the M18 without the thumb safety. My impression of the Sig Sauer P320 is favorable. Since I carried a Sig P220 and 45 ACP during my Leo days, I appreciate the Sig line of firearms, as the P220 proved its value and worth to me the days that I carried it. The Sig P320, however, is a striker-fired pistol and has different characteristics that separates it from any hammer-fired Sig pistol. I found the trigger to be excellent and the pistol well balanced. The grip was very comfortable in my hand, and the pistol had a whisper of familiarity to it, as the grip angle and ergonomics are Sig-like in nature, and I have traveled down the Sig Sauer road before. There were absolutely no failures during running the pistol. In fact, it ran like a top. This was all to be expected, of course. As I stated, my primary reason for running the gun was the optic system mounted on top of the stainless steel slide. I have had an experience with reflex sights before, but they were not as well built as the Romeo1, hard to adjust, and did not last long under recoil. I have had several of these mounted on MSRs, but removed them for my favored crosshair optics. On a carbine, however, target acquisition was hard to beat, primarily because of the solid platform upon which they are mounted. On a handgun, although they may be mounted securely, the platform is not the most solid, wherein the platform being the shooter holding the pistol. Turn the sight on by momentarily pressing either the up arrow or down arrow power selector button. turn the sight off, press and hold either the up arrow or down arrow power select button for 2 seconds. The sight will remain off until you momentarily press either the down arrow or up arrow power select button. When the sight is turned back on, it will return to the last brightness level used. After 2 minutes of inactivity, no movement, the sight will enter its power saving mode and automatically shut off. Any movement will immediately turn the sight back on, returning the sight to the last brightness setting used. Romeo1 has 5 illumination settings, 4 daytime and 1 NV. To increase the intensity of the 3 MOA dot, press the up arrow button on the left side of the sight. To decrease the intensity of the 3 MOA dot, press the down arrow button. I had watched one video from Sig Sauer where the presenter stated that dot sights were the future, that he could see in 5 years all pistols having them. If I was paid to promote dot sights, especially being a trainer with Sig Sauer promoting dot sights, I would promote them as well. However, while I can endorse them, I cannot promote them except for certain situations. The sights that came with the P320 Compact are Sig night sights. Romeo Pro is not included, but is available on the P320 RXP Compact. If you are coming up out of bed in the middle of the night to respond to a situation, a quick press of either illumination control of the sight activates the dot. Or you might want to take advantage of the Shake Awake feature that will automatically turn on the unit under movement. Depending on your last intensity setting, the dot may be too low or too bright. You must then adjust the intensity. The darker the environment, the lower the intensity should be to prevent distraction from too bright a dot. In a home situation, I like the idea of a dot sight. If you are involved with tactical types, law enforcement, military, security, etc., a mounted dot sight is a given, and I can really see the need of one being mounted on your duty pistol and/or carbine. For competitors, a RMR is a very good thing, and I have seen some very fast times from watching videos using these devices. I do admit to having an optic on one of my house guns, a Glock G41, and I do like it. But the G41, not a gun I wish to carry. Most times, I carry a 1911, and it can be a handful to conceal at times, as is my Glock G48 and G23. Add an RMR, my carry life just got more complicated. Unless you are carrying the pistol sight combination in an open holster on the waist, thigh, or tactical vest, concealing of such a platform is a challenge to say the least, although I'm sure that some do it. Consider that if we have to pull our firearm in a defensive situation, we may or may not even have enough time to use the sights. Make them down to a simple point and shoot response, as there is no thumb safety on the P320, nor with any version of the P320. A thumb safety can only be found on the M17 and M18 and their commercial versions. If the pistol does have a thumb safety, such as on a 1911 or an M17 or M18, the thumb safety is wiped off during the draw stroke, and the pistol is ready to fire once the sights are aligned, or before. I have trained to do this, and it is second nature to me. Add in the extra effort necessary to locate a dot, well, my brain has not yet been adequately trained to do that, but I am working on it. So, here is where I am at regarding dot sights. They are good under certain situations, and when there is enough time to prepare them for use. They can provide quick target acquisition and can be an aid for those with disabilities. Otherwise, they are a hindrance, at least to me. The P320 Compact pistol appears to be a perfectly serviceable duty or carry gun It has proven to be reliable, accurate, and quite shootable. The pistol handles well, and the controls are laid out functionally for both right and left-hand operation. The P320 compact pistol is of useful size. It is big enough to shoot well, has an adequate round capacity that should please most, yet it is somewhat compact enough to carry, concealed or not. The overall feel of the pistol in my hand is better than a number of other contemporary pistols. With that said, P320 standard night sights and the picture they provide will probably work for most operators. The rear night sight, however, I find small, and with normal ambient lighting, are not bright enough for my eyes to pick out. But my eyes are old and weak, and you younger folks may not have an issue with them. The trigger is serviceable enough to aid in holding the pistol steady throughout the long but smooth trigger pull until the striker is released. This helps greatly in the accuracy department, of which the P320 proved to do whatever my hands told it to do, which may not have been perfectly correct at times. The trigger shoe is a curved affair, unlike that found on the X series of P320 pistols. Some like the straight trigger, as with the X series, but my fingers are attuned to a curved trigger, and I have no issue with them, as long as they pull smooth, break cleanly, and reset quickly. The weight of the P320 is distributed well in the hand, and in the grand scheme of pistols, it is fine. The shape of the trigger itself is good, and will be more conducive to good shooting for less experienced shooters than some of the alternative pistols with trigger safeties, and more complexity in the shape of the trigger's shoe. As mentioned, there is no thumb safety on the P320, as with the M17 and M18. I do prefer a safety lever on the left side of the pistol. Looking at the available space, Sig had competing priorities. If the thumb safety lever is too much, it might interfere with the slide release or be accidentally engaged during recoil by a shooter with a poor grip. The modular nature of the P320 is one key feature of the pistol. This simple modularity is one area that was well received by military and civilians alike, due to the flexibility it provides for tailoring the gun to different shooters' hands and purpose for the pistol. The Fire Control Unit, the FCU, is the only serialized part, and since the Fire Control Unit is the serialized firearm, the rest of the pistol is simply just parts. P320 allows a direct mount option for Sig Optics or the Leupold Delta Point Pro. This P320 was mine, and although I would not be one to run an optic on this pistol, I do like that mounting an optic can be done without an additional mounting plate. The P320 Compact, I believe, would make a fine carry, a very shootable package. Personally, and if I was to choose a Sig P320 as a personal defense assistant, the commercial version of the M17 or M18 over the standard P320 would be my choice, simply because of the added security of a thumb safety. That is my choice, and it may not agree with your choice, and that is fine. With all this behind me, let me get on with the range session with the P320 and the Romeo1 Optic. In the case of the pistol that I was running, POI was low to my POA. This was a range pistol, and I did not want to adjust the sight to my preference. I just ended up doing a lot of sight compensation. Adjusting elevation and windage is simple, however, and is accomplished by turning two adjustment screws, one for windage on the right side and one for elevation on the top with a flat tip screwdriver. An adjustment tool is provided with the pistol, but was not available to me. First thing that I had to get used to was viewing the red dot quickly. That is, getting a sight in front of my face so that the red dot can be viewed. This takes a different technique than what I am used to with open sights. Once in my line of vision, however, the dot remains for viewing until I lower the pistol. My challenge was to keep the muzzle flip at a minimum and follow through with my shots to keep the dot within view. I find that finding the dot is more challenging than with open sights. I ran the pistol through a series of Mozambique drills, which at some point in the exercise forced a reload. Unfortunately, I only had one magazine. This resulted in more practice than I wanted, getting a sight picture where it needed to be. Being that the sight was not adjusted properly meant that I spent most of my aiming time attempting to compensate for the difference of POA to POI. Time was well spent, however, working on heart-to-head transitions. The combination of Sig Sauer P320 and the Sig Romeo1 Optic seems to be a good combination for those who like or need this type of sighting system. Do not expect rock-solid viewing of the dot, however. As I mentioned, the foundation of this platform is the shooter, and I am not the steadiest of shooters. But that does not mean that you will suffer the same shakiness as I do. May just do fine with an optic. Personally, I do better with open sights, because I do not see the movement of the sights as much as I see the movement of a dot. I do tend to try and rush the shot with a red dot, or laser, and of course, the viewing of the red dot is more unstable with a pistol than with a carbine. With the Sig Sauer P320 Compact with Romeo1 Optic, you get an excellent 9mm platform carrying 15 plus rounds of your favorite 9mm fodder. A fine pistol, equipped with some serious sights, once fully equipped with the Romeo1 reflex sight, or sight of your choice. Materials-wise, the P320 simply breaks down primarily into polymer and steel, with a modular fire control unit that can be swapped with multiple frame sizes and configurations. Depending on how you look at it, the P320 Compact is either the creme de la creme of handguns or just another pistol. I can highly recommend the Sig Sauer P320 Compact, and especially with the Romeo1 Optic, for those who want or need such a combination of pistol and electronic sight. I like it for some fun range time. In real-world situations, however, I still prefer a good set of open sights. Well, it's time to put this chapter of the Range Ronin Chronicles to rest. With the Sig Sauer P320 with Romeo Optic back in the hands of the range representative, the P320 awaits its next operator, while I move on to the next chapter of a firearm review. I hope that you join me then, as I do appreciate you being with me on this journey of mine. Until we meet again, be vigilant, be armed, and be safe out there.